Hello everyone, you're welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be solving Cambridge IGCSE Mathematics, Paper 4 Extended of October-November 2024. So let's get started. Now the first question here says, Avi buys a new car. The price of the car is $28,240. She's giving a 7.5% discount. Calculate the amount she pays. Now, the cost price of the car is $28,240. So let's say the cost price, CP, this is $28,240. Now, let's consider this amount 100%. I will consider this as 100%. She's giving a 7.5% discount. So 7.5% discount means we have to subtract 7.5 from 100%. So 100% minus 7.5% is equal to 92.5%. Now, calculate the amount she pays. Now, the amount she pays will be 92.5% of the original price, which means 92.5 over 100 times the original price, which is the cost price, $28,240. Now, using your calculator to multiply and then divide by 100, you will get 26,122 as a final answer. Now, the next question, if the fuel tank in the new car has a capacity of 45 liters. This is 72% of the capacity of the fuel tank in her old car. Calculate the capacity of the fuel tank in the old car. So the new car has a capacity of 45 liters. So we said 45 liters. Now 45 liters, in terms of comparing this to the old car, so 45 liters is only 72%. Is only 72% of the old. So we can say just the old car. Now, 45 liters of the new car is equivalent to 72% of the capacity of our old car. So in this case, we can say 45 is equal to 72 over 100 times. Now, the capacity of the old car is unknown, so we can represent the capacity as Y. Let the capacity of the old car be Y. So now we can further simplify this by now writing 45 equal to 72Y over 100. So we can multiply both sides by 100 and also multiply 45 by 100. So cancel out the 100. So we're going to have 4,500 equal to 72Y. Now to find Y, we have to divide both sides by 72. To find the value of Y, so divide both sides by 72. And then you can cancel out this. Y is equal to 4,500 divided by 72. And the final answer to this will be 62.5 5 liters. So the next question, question 1B. Adi buys a car, a new car, costing $28,000. He pays for the car using a finance plan, and the finance plan is as follows: a deposit, 47 equal monthly payment of $3,330, a final payment of $11,490. Using this finance plan, Adi pays a total of $31,900 for the car. Calculate the deposit paid as a percentage of $28,000. Now, we have to underline the keywords here. We're told that Adi pays a total of this amount. So Adi pays a total of $31,900. And then we have to now calculate all these amounts and then subtract from 31,900. So, but before we do that, let's look at the deposit is unknown. We don't know the deposit. 47 equal monthly payment of $330 will be this 47 equal monthly will be 47 times 330. Okay. And that should give us, if you multiply 47 by 330, you should get $15,510. Now, a final payment of 11,000. So we have a final payment of what? $11,490. $490. Now, using the finance plan, Adi pays a total of this amount for the car. So calculate the deposit paid as a percentage of $28,000. Now, the deposit is unknown. So first we have to figure out what the deposit is. And to do that, first we have to now, out of 31,900, I will subtract the total of the 47 equal monthly payment, which is having a total of 15,510 plus the final payment, 11,490. Now you add up this and then subtract from 31,900. Now this gives us $4,900. Now the deposit is $4,900. Now the question is not complete yet. We need to complete this. Calculate the deposit paid as a percentage of $28,000. Now the deposit paid as a percentage of $28,000 would be the deposit out of over $28,000 times 100. So we're going to write the deposit over, which is 4,900 over $28,000 times 100%. So we can cancel out the zeros and then divide 4,900 by 280. So this will give a final answer of 17.5% as the answer to question B. Question C, a car travels 64 kilometers and uses 2.5 liters of fuel. It then travels 128 kilometers and uses 6 liters of fuel. Calculate the rate at which the car uses fuel during the whole journey. Give your answer in liters per 100 kilometers. Now, the first thing you want to do is to find the total distance traveled by adding 64 kilometers to 128 kilometers. So the total distance traveled, now say the total distance will be 64 plus 128. Now this gives us 192 kilometers. Okay, for the total distance. Now for the amount of fuel consumed, we have the total will be 2.5 liters plus 6 liters. Now the total fuel would be 2.5 liters plus 6 liters. And this gives us 8.5 liters. The rate, calculate the rate. We're told to calculate the rate. The question says calculate the rate at which the car uses the fuel. The rate will be equal to, now the total fuel, which is 8.5 liter, over the total distance, which is 192 kilometers times 100. So if you divide, or you multiply and divide by 192, you're going to get a final answer of 4.43. 4.43 liters per 100 kilometers. Now over to the next question, D. At the start of 2021, the value of the car was $46,500. At the end of 2021, the value of the car was 20% less. At the end of 2022, the value of the car was 15% less than its value at the end of 2021. Calculate the value of the car at the end of 2022. Now, if a car costs for 46,500, the cost of the car is 46,500. This is the cost. Now, at the end of 2021, the car was 20% less. It means the value depreciated by 20%. And at the end of 2022, it further depreciated by 15% less than the value of 2021. So we're to calculate the value of the car at the end of 2022. Now, let's see the original costs, the value of the car. I will see this as, consider this 100%. Now, if there is a 20% less, it means we have to subtract 20% from 100, and that gives us 80%. Now, this 80% can be converted to decimal to form the multiplier. 80% is the same as, in decimal form, is 0.8. Now, at the end of 2022, this is the multiplier at the end of 2021. Now, at the end of 2022, the car was 15% less than its value at the end of 2021. So from the original 100%, I will subtract 15% to give 85%. Now, 85%, the multiplier, converting 85% to decimal, it gives us 0.85. Now, to calculate the value of the car at the end of 2022, all you need to do is to multiply the original cost, the original value of the car, which is 46,500. You multiply by the first multiplier, which is 0.8. And then also multiply this by the second multiplier, which is 0.85. Here we have 0.85. This is 0.85. So after multiplying this, we will get a final answer of 31,620. So to the next question, number 2. The table shows a value for y equal to x to the power of 3 plus 4x squared minus 4. Question A, complete the table. To complete the table, we're given two missing values here. And that is the values, corresponding values for -4 is not given. And for -1, it's not given as well. So we have to complete this. To complete this, you have to go back to the original function or original equation here of y equal to x to the power of 3 plus 4x squared minus 4. Now, to find the corresponding value of x here, to find the y value, I will have to substitute the value of x, which is -4, into the equation where when x is -4, y will be equal to -4 to the power of 3, okay, plus 4 times -4 squared minus 4. Now, 4 to the power of 3, -4 to the power of 3 gives us -64. Plus -4 squared times 4 gives us 64 minus 4. Of course, -64 plus 64 is 0. And so we're left with just -4 for this. Now, to complete the corresponding value of -1, when x is equal to -1, x equal to -1, y will be, I will substitute the value into the equation. So here we have -1 to the power of 3 plus 4 times -1 squared minus 4. Okay, so if you do this way, where -1 to the power of 3 gives -1, and here we have, it's going to be +4, and then we have -4. So of course, -4 and +4 is 0. So we're left with just -1 as the value for, corresponding value for -1 is -1. Now we've completed the table. Let's answer question B. On the grid, draw the graph. So we need to draw the graph using the table of values to draw the graph. So we're going to start drawing the graph, locating the points on the graph. So now let's see. Now the first value here says -4.5 to -14.1. Now here's -4.5. So each unit here represents 0.1, which means if this is -4, this will be -4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, -5. So -4.5 should be somewhere around, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Trace it down to 14, -14. And let's look at the y. On the y-axis here, we have -14.1. And here, each of these represents 1 unit. So each of these units represent 1. So we have 10, each two of these units represent 1. So we have 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So it means we have 14.1 should be somewhere around, this is 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14.1 should be somewhere around here. We have 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. And then we have, here we're going to have something like 14.1, This is 11. We have 14.1 should be somewhere around here. And the next point here, -4 to -4, which means x is -4, y is -4. So here on the x-axis, -4. And here on the y-axis, just like I said, two of these units represent 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have to come here and locate this point as our point. So now we'll move on to the next values and say that says negative x when x is -3, y is 5. When x is -3, y is 5. This is the point. And then -2 and 4. When x is -2, y is 4. So when x is -2, y is 4. So we have 4 here, somewhere around here as 4. And then we have the next value, -1 to -1. When x is -1, y is -1. So x is -1, y is -1 should be somewhere here. And then when x is 0, y is -4. When x is 0, y is -4. So -4 should be somewhere here. And so we move on to the next values. When x is 1, y is 1. When x is 1, y is 1. So like I said, every two units represent 1 on the y-axis. 1, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when x is 1, y is 1. And this is the point. So next, 1.5 to 8.4. When x is 1.5, y is 8.4. So we're going to have something around here when x is 1.5. So each of the units on the x-axis is 0.1. So 1.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Okay, we're going to trace this down to 8.4 on the y-axis. So 8.4 on the y-axis is going to be somewhere around, let's count this as 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 6, 7, and 8. So 8.4 somewhere around here. Maybe we have 1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 1.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. So 8.4 somewhere around this point. So we're going to join these points together. Okay. So I'm going to use, you can use your pencil to join the points. But for the sake of this, I will use a dot to represent the line. So we're just going to move and just try to join the points. So we just move in, joining the points together. So we have something like this. Yours should be much better than this. If you're doing this on the exam condition, you should draw it properly using a pencil. So what we have here is a curve. Now the question that follows says, draw the tangent to the graph. Now the tangent is a line that touches the edge of the curve, and drawing the tangent of the graph at the point 1 to 1, which means the x and y coordinate of 1 to 1, which means this is the point where the tangent will touch the curve. So when x is 1, y is 1, at this point, you're expected to draw a tangent to touch the curve at this point. So let's assume we have a tangent somewhere around here. Let's say, for instance, this is the tangent. touching the curve at point 1 to 1. Okay, for example, we have a tangent. And so the next question says, use your tangent to estimate the gradient of the curve at the point 1, 1. So at the point of x, when x is 1, y is 1, at the point where the tangent touches the curve, we expected to calculate or estimate the gradient. Now for the gradient, you can choose any 2 points on the line. So let's see if we can look for any 2 points on this line. Let's say, for instance, we're taking this point. I'll take this point. Let's take this one. And let's find the second point. Second point should be somewhere here. Let's assume we have a second point on the line somewhere here. So I can label this as AB. So we should get the coordinates of the point, the coordinates of point A. The coordinates of point A, let's say on the x-axis, we have our x and y value for point A should be, we trace it up at this point, we'll have, now this is 0 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. So x is 0 0.7. Now, the y value for this point is this here. And of course, we know 2 units represent 1. So this is going to be 1. Here we have 1, 2, and 3. So it's going to be 3, negative 3, negative 3. So the x and y value for B, if I trace this down to this point, and I trace it to this point, to the x-axis. So I trace it to the x and the y-axis. Here on the x-axis, we're gonna have here, this is 1, 1.1, 1.2. So on the x-axis, point B is 1.2. On the y-axis, let's count from 0. We have 1, 2, and 3. So this is the point on the x-axis, on the y-axis, this point. Here, this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we have 3. So we can label any of this, or decide to label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So the gradient here says gradient equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what is y2? Y2 is 3 minus y1. Of course, y1 is negative 3 over x2. What's x2? 1.2 minus x1. x1 is 0 0.7. Okay, so we have a negative here. And so 3 minus 3 will give us 3 plus 3, and that is going to be equal to 6 over. Now we have 1.2. 1.2, now 1.2 minus 0 0.7, 1.2 minus 0 0.7 to give 0 0.5. So if you subtract this, if we divide 6 by 0 0.5, we're going to get, the value we get here will be 6 divided by 0.5, and that should give us a value of 12. So the gradient is equal to 12. We'll give 12 as the gradient. So that's it for this question. The next question, D. By drawing a straight line on the grid, solve the equation. Okay, by drawing a straight line on the grid, we have to solve the equation. X to the power of 3 plus 4x squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. Now, to solve this equation, first, let's write the original equation here that says y equal to x to the power of 3 plus 4x squared minus 4. Now, in order to solve this equation, we'll have to rearrange this equation in the form of the original equation. So here we have x to the power of 3 plus 4x squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. So I will have to rearrange this in the form of the original equation. Now, to rearrange that, I have to arrange the equation. We first and foremost, write x to the power of 3 plus 4x squared. Now, I'm going to move the negative 6 and the negative x and negative 6 to the right-hand side. To do that, it becomes positive 6, positive x plus 6. And because we're trying to write the same original equation, so what the only thing missing here is negative 4. So we have to now subtract 4 from both sides, minus 4, minus 4. So if you subtract 4 from both sides, you will get, this gives us the original equation, which states x to the power of 3 plus 4x squared minus 4 equal to, now we have here is going to be x. Now, plus 6 minus 4 will be plus 2. So we have plus 2. Now you can see the whole of this can be replaced with y. Y is equal to this. So I'm going to replace here and call this y equal to x plus 2. Now, from y equal to x plus 2, which is a linear graph, you're expected to draw this linear graph on that graph paper. We have to go back to the graph paper and draw the linear graph. But to do that, first, we need to get some keywords here. First, I know the general equation of the line is y equal to mx plus c. Now, where for this graph, the gradient m is 1, and the y-intercept for this graph is 2. So we have to go back to the graph and try to plot this, draw this line, the straight line. So from the y-intercept, which is 2, let's locate the y-intercept from here. I've got 1 and 2. So this is the y-intercept. This point is the y-intercept. Now from the y-intercept, I'm going to rise by 1 unit upwards and then rise by 1 unit to the right because the gradient is 1. So we rise by, if you come back here, you will find that the gradient, is 1, which means the gradient here means 1 over 1, which is rise over run. So I'm going to rise by 1 and then run to the right-hand side by 1. So let's go back to the graph. So on this graph, from the y-intercept, I'm going to count 1 unit upwards, which is just 1, because two of these lines or 2 units represent 1. So I move from here 1, 2, and this is 1. And then I'm going to move to the right side by 1 unit, and we move to this point, and this is the point, this point. So place your ruler here, and then you should draw a line that touches this point from here. The line has to go through this point. And also do the same here. You must extend this line. It has to go straight. Make sure you're using a ruler. It has to go like this, straight. May not be very accurate, but you should use your ruler to make it straight and make it accurate. So we now go back. Let's complete the question here that says, by drawing a suitable straight line on the grid, solve the equation. So we can now, to solve this equation, the answer, the solution to this will be the point of intersection of the straight line, which is a linear graph, to the curve. So I'm going to trace this point of intersection of the linear graph, which is a straight line graph, where it intersects the curve. You have to trace it down to the x-axis, and also where it intersects with the curve at this point, trace it down to the y-axis, to the x-axis, and also at this point where it intersects here, we have to trace it to the x-axis. Okay, so now by doing this, we should be able to get the value. May not be accurate, but from what we've been able to do here, if you trace this point, your x value, one of the values of x should be, here we have this, should be 1.1. If you have to trace this value, trace the point of intersection to x-axis, this should be around 1.1. And the next one, we have negative 1.2, negative 1.2, or thereabout, 1.25. And the next is going to be negative 3.9. So we just have to write the answers, the values of x. So the values of x will be negative 3.9, negative 1.2, 1.1, and then we have 1.25. So these are the answers, the values of x. So to the next question, question number 3. Simplify 3m minus 5n minus 4m plus 8n. To simplify the algebraic expression, the first thing you have to do is to rearrange by grouping the like terms. Well, to group the like terms here, first we look at 3m and negative 4m are like terms, negative 5n and positive 8n are like terms. So we can rewrite this as 3m minus 4m minus 5n plus 8n. So 3m minus 4m gives us negative m, and the negative 5n plus 8n is going to give us positive. We're going to have a positive 3n. So this becomes positive plus 3n. Now, it's either you're leaving your answer like this, or it can be written as 3n minus n. So still the same. So to the next question, we have 3a squared c to the power of 3, all in bracket to the power of 4. Now, the power 4 affects every single thing inside the bracket, every single term inside the bracket. So all you have to do is to make sure the terms, if you're writing a term, it should include the bracket and the power 4. So let's say 3 to the power of 4 times, so I've got a squared to the power of 4 times, we have c to the power of 3 to the power of 4. Now, 3 to the power of 4, 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 81. Then a squared to the power of 4, that's 4 times 2, 8. So it's going to be a to the power of 8. And then finally we have c to the power of 3, all in bracket 4. It means all in bracket power 4. So multiplying the power by the power 4 by 3, 4 multiplied 3 is 12. So we're going to have 6 c to the power of 12 as the answer to this. Okay, let's move on to the next question, which is 4x over 5 minus 3x plus 2x over 15. Now, in this case, to be able to add this algebraic fraction, we have to ensure that the denominators are the same. But in this case, the denominators are different. And so we have to find a way of, we have to look for find the LCM of the denominators. The LCM between 5 and 10 and 15, LCM is equal to 30. Now, if the LCM is equal to 30, so all I'm going to do here is to make sure that the denominators are the same. Okay, so we can actually make 5 30 by multiplying 5 by 6. And also do the same to the numerator, times 6. After times 6. Now for 10, we can make 10 30 by multiplying 10 by 3. And also do the same to the numerator. 15 can become 30 by multiplying 15 by 2. And also do the same to the numerator. So 6 times 4 is 24x over 6 times 5, 30, minus 3 times 3x is 9x over 3 times 10 is 30, plus 2 times 2x is 4x over 15 times 2 is equal to 30. So now 24x, since the denominators are now common, they're now the same, we can go ahead and simplify by saying 24x minus 9x plus 4x, and this gives us 19x over 30. So the final answer here is 19x over 30. So that's it for question A. Question B. This isosceles triangle has a perimeter of 35.5 centimeters. Okay, and the question says find the value of A. Now, one of the properties of an isosceles triangle is that the sides are equal, especially the side. The side is equal to 3a, one of the sides, having 3a plus 2, having a length of 3a plus 2 is equal to the other side because of this symbol. The symbol here shows that the sides are equal. So I'm going to write here 3a plus 2 centimeter. Now the perimeter is simply the distance around the object. So to find the perimeter of the isosceles triangle, it's just simply going to be addition of the sides. So if I say the perimeter P is equal to 3a plus 2 and plus 3a plus 2, and then plus the other side, which is a, the length of the other side, a. Now, the perimeter, of course, is already given as 35.5. So I'm going to replace that here as 35.5 equal to, now let's add up the length. 3a plus 3a gives us 6a. 6a plus a is 7a. So we have 7a. Then 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and that's 4. Now, since we're we're expected to find the value of A, to find the value of A, we need to get rid of the 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So if you subtract 4 from both sides, then this is off. So we're going to have 7A equal to 35.5 minus 4 gives us 31.5. So we have 31.5. To find the value of A, we have to divide both sides by 7. Divide by 7. And the 7 will cancel out the 7. The value of A will be equal to 4.5. So value of A is 4.5 centimeters. And now to question C. The next question is C. Using quadratic formula, solve 5x squared minus 4x minus 3 equal to 0. You must show all your working. Okay? Now, it is clearly stated here to use a quadratic formula in solving the quadratic equation. So, first, we have to state the formula. Okay, question C. Use the quadratic formula to solve 5x squared minus 4x minus 3 equal to 0. You must show all your workings. Now here it's clearly stated here to use quadratic formula in solving this problem. So first, what's a quadratic formula? We have to write the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula, of course, is given by x equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So after writing quadratic formula, you need to now know the values of a, b, and c. And to know that, we can now write the general equation of a quadratic equation, the general formula, the general quadratic equation written as ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, the coefficient of x squared is a, which means a equal to 5. The coefficient of x is b, and here, in this case, the coefficient of x is negative 5. So b will be, negative 4. B will be negative 4. And the coefficient on c, which is a constant, is negative 3, and c is equal to negative 3. So in this case, we have to substitute these values into the formula. So here we're going to have negative b. Of course, b is negative 4, so it becomes negative 4. Then plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 4 squared, minus 4 times the value of a is 5, times c is negative 3 over 2a. 2a, the value of a is 5, so 2 times 5. Now we can go ahead to simplify this. Negative multiplies negative becomes positive. Here we have 4 plus or minus. And then we have a square root here. Negative 4 to the power of 2, or square means negative 4 times negative 4, and that's 16. Okay. And here we've got Negative 4 times 5, negative 20. Negative 20 times negative 3 will be positive 60 plus 60. So we have plus 60 over 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. So to further simplify this, we have to go and we have to write 4 plus or minus. Now 16 plus 10 is 76. So it's going to be root 76 over 10. So we can still continue to simplify to find the value of x here. So we come here and say x is equal to 4 plus root of root 76 over 10 or x minus root 76 over 10. And of course, root 76, using your calculator to find the square root, you will get 8.718. So here we're going to have 4 plus 8.718 over 10. And that should give us, using your calculator, add 4 to 8.718 and then divide by 10. You're going to get 1.27 here. And for the next value of x, we have also here x minus 8.718 over 10. So if you subtract this, you should get, and then subtract, so this is not x, but 4. So it's 4, not x, it's 4. So this is 4. Here it's also 4. We have 4 here. Okay, so 4 minus 8.718 divided by 10. So if you do this, you should be able to use your calculator to subtract and then divide. So we're going to get something like a negative value, which is negative 0.472. So the answers here would be 1.27. And here, the value of x here will be negative 0.472. So to the next question, question D, solve this simultaneous equation. Y equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5. Y equal to 2x minus 3. You must show all working. Now, here it's a simultaneous equation involved. So first, we have to label the equation. The first one, I'm going to label the first one as equation 1, and the second equation as equation 2. So y equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5. Y is equal to 2x minus 3. So we can actually make y equation 1 equal to equation 2. So we can start by making equation 1 equal to equation 2. So equation 1 says x squared minus 4x plus 5 is equal to 2x minus 3. Okay, at this point, we can group the like terms. We can group the like terms. I've got 4x and then negative 4x and 2x on the right-hand side. So if I'm to group this, to move 2x to the left-hand side, it becomes negative. So which means, well, x squared here minus 4x. Now the 2x moves to the left-hand side. It becomes negative, so minus 2x. Then we've got already plus 5 on the left-hand side, plus 5. Now negative 3 on the right-hand side moves to the left-hand side, it becomes positive 3. So we have plus 3 equal to 0. So let's go further to simplify this. I've got x squared. Now negative 4x minus 2x gives negative 6x. And then 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 8 equal to 0. So we're now going to factorize at this point. We need to factorize the equation here. And to factorize the equation, we have to look for a pair of factors that multiplies to give 8, and I will add to give negative 6. And this pair of factor is 4 and 2. 4 and 2. So if the 4 is negative, the 2 has to be negative to satisfy the condition. Negative 4 times negative 2 gives positive 8. And then negative 4 plus negative 2 gives negative 6. So if you are to factorize this, all I have to write is just to write x minus 4 times x minus 2 equal to 0. So if x minus 4 times x minus 2 is equal to 0, so it's either x minus 4 is equal to 0 or x minus 2 equal to 0. So if x minus 4 is equal to 0, the value of x will be equal to 4. X will be equal to 4. And if x minus 2 is equal to 0, it means the value of x, in this case, will be equal to 2. Now, let's come here and write x equal to 4, x equal to 2. So we need to find the corresponding values of y after finding x. So we have to find the corresponding value of y. And we can do that by going back to any of this equation. Let's take equation 2. Now, to find y equal to 2x minus 3. If x is equal to 4, all you have to do is to substitute into y equal to 2x minus 3. The value of x is 4. So this is 2 times 4 minus 3. Now 2 times 4 is 8. So 8 minus 3 will be equal to 5. So y equal to 5. So in this case, y is 5. Now when x equal to 2, find the corresponding value of y by replacing the value of x in y equal to 2x minus 3. Now x is 2, so this becomes 2 times 2 minus 3. 2 times 2, 4. 4 minus 3 equal to 1. So the value of y in this case will be equal to, when x is 2, the value of y is 1. So the next question here we have, our next question, question number 4. The angles of a quadrilateral are w degrees, x degree, y degree, and z degree. The ratio w to x plus y plus z is in the ratio of 3 to 5. Find the value of w. Okay, in this case, we're told that the angles of a quadrilateral has a total angle of 360 degrees. So we have an angle that add up to 360 degrees, gives us a quadrilateral. So we have angle to quadrilateral add up to give 360 degrees. So now the total ratio here, is 3 plus 5. And 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. Now, this means that there are 8 parts in the ratio. This simply means there are 8 parts in the ratio. Now, if there are 8 parts in the ratio, we can actually find the value of one part. So I can say one part can be found by dividing 360 by 8 to find just for one part. So if you divide 360 by 8, you should get 45 degrees. So 45 degrees is for one part. And the ratio given here, we said W ratio X plus Y plus Z is in the ratio of 3 to 5. Here we have, this means 5 parts. And here we have 3 parts. If one part is 45 degrees, and the question says, find the value of W. Find the value of W. W has got 3 parts. So 3 parts will be equal to 45 times 3. So for 3 parts, we know the value of one part. So 3 parts will be 45 times 3. And that should give us 135 degrees as the answer to that. The next question, 4B. A, B, C, and D are points on the circle. PQ is a tangent to the circle at point A. BMND is a straight line. Angle ACD is 49 degrees. Then we've got angle AMB is 105 degrees. So angle PAB is equal to 45 degrees. PAB, 45 degrees. Find angle BAM. Find angle BAM. So this is exactly the angle they're asking of. They want you to look for this angle. Now, to find angle BAM, first we have to consider the angles on the same segment. For ACB, angle ACB is 49. So on the same segment, line on the same segment, we have this angle is going to be 49 degrees because of what? Angles on the same segment. So angle ABD will be ABD will be equal to 49 degrees. And the reason is what? Angles on same segment. Now, if this is 49 degrees, then we can actually find BAM, angle BAM. This is BAM. We can calculate for BAM. Now, we will consider the triangle BAM. 2 angles are known. The third angle can be found by subtracting the sum of the 2 angles from 180 degrees. So we can say 180 degrees minus, we can add the 2 angles, 49 degrees plus 105. And so if you add this and subtract from 180, it gives 26 degrees. So the answer to question angle BAM is 26 degrees. So we're going to have 26 degrees here as the answer. Find BAD. Now find angle BAD. Now BAD is simply the whole of this angle. Finding the whole of this angle. BAD is everything that covers this angle. Okay, to find the angle, if we are able to actually find this angle, it becomes easier for us to find angle BAD. And we can find this from angle on an alternate segment. Now, this is 45 degrees. This angle will be 45 degrees. And the reason is what? Alternate segment theorem. The angles are on alternate segment. So it's 45 degrees. And if this is 45 degrees, angle BDA is 45 degrees, then we can easily find BAD. Now we can find BAD by angle BAD. Now angle BAD will be equal to, now all we're going to do is to subtract the sum of 49 and 45 degrees. Here it's going to be 180 degrees minus the sum of 49 degrees plus 45 degrees. And so if we add 49 to 45 and then subtract from 180, it's going to give us 86 degrees. So angle BAD will be equal to 86 degrees. So we have the answer to this as 86 degrees. So here it's 86 degrees. So the last question here, give a geometrical reason why BD is not the diameter of the circle. Because the diameter of the circle has to pass through the center of the circle. But in this case, the reason we're going to consider here is that the sum of the angle BAD is not 90 degrees. Because the whole of this is not 90 degrees, angle in the semicircle, if this were to be angle in the semicircle and it's 90 degrees, then we can consider BD diameter. But because this angle, it's not 90 degrees, so BD is not the diameter. And the reason is because angle BAD is not 90 degrees, not the diameter. And the reason is because angle BAD is not 90 degrees. Okay. And in bracket, we can just write angles in a semicircle. That's the reason for that. So let's move on to the next question here. Question C. A, B, C, and D are points on the circle center O. TA and TC are tangent to the circle. OA is 6.75 and OT is 11.5 centimeters. Show that angle AOC is 108.12, correct to 2 decimal places. Now, from the information given here, we know that OA is 6.75, which is diameter. Here's 6.75. And also, we're given OT. The length OT is 11.5 centimeter. This is 11.5 centimeter. Now the question is show that angle AOC is equal to 108.12 degree. Angle AOC, so we're told to find angle AOC. Show that AOC is 108. It means the whole of the angle here is 108 degrees. 108.12 degrees. That's the whole of the angle here. Okay, if this were theta, we call this theta. The angles are the same, so theta. So we can actually find this angle knowing the length AO, OA, and OT. So if we consider it to be this form, have something like this. And here's the right angle. And if this is, we've got OA, and we have T on this point, at this point. So OA is 6.75. And we have OT is given by 11.5. So we have to calculate for theta, angle theta. Now to calculate for angle theta, you have to think about the SOHCAHTOA. Now, SOHCAHTOA, to apply sine, opposite over hypotenuse, opposite has to be given, and hypotenuse also as well. Here we have opposite, we have hypotenuse, and then adjacent. So in this case, we're only giving the hypotenuse and the adjacent given, so we have to apply cosine. So here, cos theta is equal to adjacent, which is 6.75, over hypotenuse, 11.5. Now, theta will be the cos inverse of 6.75 over 11.5. So use your calculator to find the cos inverse. Theta will be given as 54.0584. Okay, so since the angles are equal, all you have to do is to multiply this and come here and say 2 times theta, which will be 2 times 54.0584. And you're going to get 108.12 degrees as a final answer to this. So it's 108. So you're getting 108.12 degrees. Now the next question here, question II, calculate the length of the minor arc ABC. Now I'm going to draw the minor arc ABC. This is how it looks like. We have something like this. Already, the whole of this theta is given by 108.12. And we have here as well the radius 6.75. So the length of arc can be found from the formula. Length of arc is given by theta over 360 times 2 pi r, where theta is the angle at the center here, giving us 108.12 over 360 times 2 times pi. Pi is giving us 3.14 times the radius, which is giving us 6.75. 6.75. So use your calculator to multiply out this, and we're getting 12.7 centimeter. 12.7 centimeter as a final answer to this. Now the next question says, calculate the area of the major arc. I'm going to draw a rough sketch of the major arc. So it looks like this. We have something like this. Something like this, the rough sketch for the major arc. Now, we need this angle for the major arc, theta. So the area of the major arc, area, is given by the formula theta over 360 times pi r squared, where theta will be the reflex angle here. So we can actually, from what we get from here, subtract from 360, the angle. So to find the exact angle of theta, the exact theta for the major arc, we have to subtract the angle of the minor sector from 360, and this will be 360 minus the theta can be found by subtracting 108.12 from 360, and this gives us 251.88. So it's going to be 0.88 degrees. So this is what we're going to use in calculating the area. So I will replace theta in the formula as 2 for area equal to 251.88 over 360 times pi. Pi is 3.14, the value for pi, times r squared. The radius is given as 6.75. This is the radius, 6.75. So we have 6.75 squared. Now use your calculator to multiply out and then divide by 360. So we're going to get 100 centimeters squared as the final answer. So the next question here says, the cumulative frequency diagram shows information about the distance traveled by each of 80 motorists in a month. Now here's the cumulative frequency graph. Now use the cumulative frequency diagram to find an estimate for the median. Yes, the median is given by the formula n over 2. So median is n over 2. N over 2 is the total number of motorists, which is 80. And that's going to give us 80 divided by 2, which is 40. So I'm going to trace 40 on the cumulative frequency graph. We're going to try to trace the point 40 to the curve. Trace it to the curve. And when it gets to the curve, we'll have to now trace it down. At this point of intersection here, we'll trace it down. Okay, gradually. Just take it down. Trace it down like this to this point. Okay, so now we can actually take our reading from the x-axis. To do that, we need to know the scale for this graph. Each of these units counts for 40. It is 40. I've got 10 units here. 1, 2, 10 lines. 1, 2, 3. So 40 times 10 is 4. If you want to know for each of the units, you can say 400 divided by 10, and that gives us 40, which means each of these units represents 40. 40 plus 40 plus 40 plus 40, and so. So to find this exact value, I'm going to count the number of lines we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 times 40 will be 200 and what? 280. So 7 times 40 will be 280. So I will add this to 1,200. 1,200 plus 280. That gives us, going to give us 1,480 kilometers as a final answer to this. Okay, now the interquartile range. The interquartile range here is supposed to be 1,200. So just a quick correction here, 1,200. So the interquartile range here can be found by the formula Q3, which is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, Q1. So Q3 can be found. Q3 is given by the formula 3n over 4. And Q1 is given by the formula n over 4. Now, 3n over 4 is just simply multiplying 3 by the total motorist, which is 3 times 80 over 4. 3 times 80 over 4 gives us 60. N over 4 is just simply 80 over 4, and that's equal to 20. So we're going to trace all this on the graph now. We trace Q3 as 60, and then Q1 as 20. So if you to trace Q1 first, let's say this is Q1. So I'm going to trace this to the curve. So when you get to this point, the point where it intersects the curve, you have to trace it down to find the exact value for Q1. By tracing down in this form, we have this point at this point. So we can now say Q1 here will be, let's count the number of lines we have. One, okay, we have to count number of lines from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if it's 9, we have, say, 40 times 9, which will be equal to 360. So I'm going to add 360 to 800. So 800 plus 360 gives us 1,160. So this is for Q1. Q1 is 1,000, that's 160. So Q2 is 60. Q3 is 60. Sorry, Q3 is 60. So I'm going to try to locate the upper quartile, which is 60 here, the graph. So we've got Q3. So trace it to the curve from here. So we can just gradually trace this, to the curve until it gets to the point of intersection, and then trace it down to the x-axis to find the exact distance. So we trace it like this down. 1,600. So here we've got Q3 is 1,600 minus Q1, 1,160. That should give us 440 kilometers as the interquartile range. The next question says, one of the motorists picked at random, find the probability that this motorist traveled more than 1,800 kilometers. So all we're going to do now is to locate 1,800 kilometers on the x-axis, trace it to the curve, and then find the cumulative frequency of that value. So let's trace it. We've got 1,800. So I'm going to count from 1,600. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 40 is 200. So 200 plus 1,600 is 1,800. So I'm going to trace this up. Gradually, just trace it carefully. So just keep tracing. Until we get to the point to the curve, the point of intersection, then trace it to the y-axis like this. Trace it to the y-axis. We have to trace it out to the y-axis. This is the point. So we get to this point. So we need to know exactly what this is. So on the y-axis, the scale for the y-axis is going to be 20. Here we have 20. We've got 10 lines. So if you divide 20 by 10, that's 2. It means each of these units represent 2. So 2, 4, like that until we get to 20. So let's calculate this. This is 6, 62, 64, 66, 68, 70, 72. And this is 72. Point here is 72. So from what we're given here is we're told that one of the motorists is picked at random. Find the probability that this motorist traveled more than 1,800 kilometers. Okay, so for the motorists that traveled more than 1,800 kilometers will be the motorists within this range will be that are above 72. All the values here until 80 are motorists that travel more than 1,800. So to find that exact value, we have to subtract 72 from 80. So we say 80 minus 72. So this is going to be 80 minus 72, and that's going to be 8. So 8 out of the total, the probability will be what? 8 out of the total, 8 over 80. And 8 over 80 in simplest form will be 1 over 10. Yes, the next question here. The distance around a racing track is 5.104 kilometers. The time taken by a car to complete one lap of the track is 1 minute 18 seconds. Calculate the average speed of the car. Give your answer in kilometers per hour. Okay, the distance is given in kilometer. The distance around the racing track. And then we have the time also taken is given. The distance is given and the time taken is given. So calculate the average speed. Speed is equal to distance over time. Now, to calculate this in kilometer per hour, but the time given is in minutes per second, in seconds, minutes and seconds. So we'll have to convert this to hours. Before applying the formula, we need to ensure that the units are in hours. The kilometer is okay. The speed, the distance is fine, but the time has to be converted to hours. Convert this to hours. Okay. So to convert this to hour, 1 minute can be converted to hour, and that will be 1 out of 60. So we'll add it to 18 seconds, which is going to be to hours will be 18 over 3,600. So if you add this together, it's going to give you 78 over 3,600. Okay. So now in simplest form, if you divide this by 6, simplest form to reduce this, the simplest form by dividing by 6, is going to give you 13 out of, I'm going to get 13. Just a minute. I'm going to get 13 out of 600 hours. So 13 out of 600 hours is the value of 1 minute 18 seconds. Okay. So now to apply this formula, the distance, speed is distance over time. So the distance given is 5,104. Now, if you're to divide by this, it means we have to convert the sign to multiplication and then invert this as 600 over 13. So if you multiply this out and divide by 13, you're going to get 236 kilometers per hour. Now to the next question, C. The top speed V kilometer per hour of each 160 cars is recorded. The histogram shows the information. The top speed V kilometer per hour of each of 160 cars is recorded. And the histogram shows the information. Okay, show that there are 8 cars with a top speed in the interval of 120 less than V less than or equal to 160. Now, to show this, they want the frequency. So we have to apply the formula frequency density. Frequency density, we're going to represent that as FD, is equal to the frequency over class width. Okay, the frequency over class width. Now, the frequency now, F will be equal to frequency density times class width. Okay, so how can I prove that there are 8 cars with a top speed of this class interval? Now, the class width, of course, 160 minus 120, which is 160 minus 120 will be 40. So we're going to have here as our class width is 40. Frequency is equal to frequency density times class width. So class width already will be 160 minus 120, which is 40. Now, the frequency density can be, we can find this on the graph, can be found on the graph here. So with the class interval of 120, which is this, to 160, which is this, 160, 120. So we can trace it to find the frequency density on the y-axis from here. So this point. So for this graph, the scale, each of this line represents 0.05. So which means we're going to have 0.1 and 0.2. So the frequency density here is 0.2. 0.2. So frequency density for this interval is 0.2. So I'm going to replace this as 0.2 times 40. That should give us 8. So the answer is 8. So the next question here, calculate the estimate of the mean top speed you must show all working. Now, in this case, we'll have to find, first and foremost, we have a class interval. This is a class interval here. We have a class interval. Well, so we should have the midpoint. Frequency F, represent F. We're going to have our Fx. So let's see if we can just. Now the class interval already from the graph, we can take these values from the graph. First, we have 120 less than V, less than or equal to 160. And we have 160 less than V, less than or equal to 180. Then we have 180 less than V, less than or equal to 200. And we've got 200 less than V, less than or equal to 240. And we've got 240 less than V, less than or equal to 300. The midpoint is gotten from the class interval. So if you add this together, 120 plus 160 divided by 2. So it's going to just add and divide by 2 to give the midpoint. Here we've got the midpoint is x, here x. So here 140. And this will be 170. Here we're going to have 190. Here will be 220. And finally, we have 270. Now, the frequency, which is gotten from what? The frequency density and the class width from the graph. We have to find this. Already, we found the first one, which I did already answered for you. And this is 8. Okay, so we have to follow the same procedure from the graph. Locate from the graph the frequency density and multiply the frequency density by the class width for each and every one. If you do that, you're going to get 22 for this. We're going to get 36. We're going to get 64. And we're going to get 30. Now, fx means multiplying the frequency by the midpoint. 8 times 140 will give us 1120. Here we're going to have 3740. 6840. 14080. And then the last, which is 8100. So you should find the sum of the fx and also find the sum of the frequency. So you're gonna need the sum of fx and the sum of frequency. Add up this using your calculator. You're gonna get 33880, and the frequency will be 160. Now the mean, because you're told to estimate the mean, will be the sum of fx over the sum of the frequency. And the sum of fx already from the table is given as 33,880 over 33,000 now 33,880 divided by the sum of the frequency, which is 160. So if you divide this using your calculator to divide, we're going to get a final answer of 211.75 kilometer per hour as a final answer to this. So let's move on to the next question here. Question number 6, work out these column vectors. Now to work out the column vectors here, all you have to do is you have to multiply the number outside, this number out here, outside here. We have to rewrite this as 2 multiply 3, which is 6. 2 multiply -5 is what? -10. Minus, we've got a column vector of 2 to 7. So we can actually now say 6 minus 2 will give us 4. Now, -10 minus 7 will be -3. So that's it for question 6a. Now for 6b, we have vector mn with a column vector of -6 to 4. M is the point, M is on the point 2 to -5, find the coordinates of n. Okay, so we have this. Let's see, we have a line. This is the vector mn. Okay, so -6 means we'll move towards the left side. +4 means we have to go up like this. So all you're going to do now is, since you're moving here in this opposite direction, here we have our coordinate point of the coordinate pair of 2, -5. This is our x and y. So to also find the coordinate pair of the point n, so all you do here is to say, we're moving in the opposite direction, so 2 minus 6 equal to -4. And then we're moving up, which is the positive direction, so it's going to be -5 plus 4. And that should be -1. So the answer here should be -4 and -1. Now, the next question says, find the magnitude of the vector mn. Okay. So, of course, we know mn. The vector mn has a column vector of -6 and 4. So the magnitude of the vector will be given by the square root of -6 squared plus 4 squared. That gives us -6 squared is 36. So we have root 36 plus, plus 16. And that gives us root 52. Now use your calculator to find root 62, and you're going to get 7.21 as the answer to this. So we'll move on to the next question, and that is question C. Now, question C, we'll have to find, we're given OACB is a trapezium with OB equal to 2AC. OB is equal to 2AC. So if OB is equal to 2AC, then AC is going to be C, because it is twice OC. And so we have OB is twice AC. So if OB is 2C, then AC is going to be C. Okay? And vector OA is A. Vector OB, 2C. This is 2C. Okay? And then we have AP ratio BP. AP ratio PB is 4:1, and AQ is 4/5 AC. AQ is 4/5 of AC. So we can just try to write some of the key points on the side. Now, AQ, vector AQ is equal to 4/5 AC. And AC is already C. It means 4/5 of C. Okay. So let's see, we're told write each of the following in terms of A and C. Give each answer in simplest form. So find vector AB. Okay. Vector AB is simply this vector AB. So we have to move in this direction. Vector AB is going to be equal to vector AO plus vector OB. Okay. And vector AO moving in the opposite direction becomes -A plus vector OB, 2C is 2C. So it's given here. OB is 2C. So the answer is going to be negative A plus 2C, or can also break it as 2C minus A. Now let's move on to vector CB. Vector CB, here's vector CB, this direction. Now vector CB will be equal to vector CA plus vector AB. Okay, vector CA plus vector AB. Now, vector CA is negative C, as seen from the diagram here. Okay, vector CA is negative C, and vector AB, as we already answered in question A, 2C minus A. So this would be plus 2C minus A. And so, because negative C plus 2C will be equal to C minus A, and the answer here is C minus A. Okay, the next question, C, says find vector OP. Now, vector OP, this is exactly what expected to find. Vector OP. Okay, expected to find vector OP. Vector looking for. To find vector OP, we have to, OP is going to be vector OB. So OB plus vector BP. Let's go back to the diagram again. See, vector OP, this is OP, is equal to OB, OB, and BP. So we're moving in this direction of OB. So we're moving in this direction here. We have OB and BP. Okay. Now, but before we go into that, let's see from the instructions given here. Now, AP, the ratio AP to PB, we have AP ratio PB to be ratio 4:1. Okay. Now, the total ratio here, which is 5, 4 plus 1, equal to 5. Now, if the total ratio is 4 plus 1 equal to 5, then we need to find what vector AP actually is. The vector AP is going to be equal to 4 over 5 times 2C minus A. And then we have vector PB to be equal to, because we have AP equal to 4 over 5 of what? AB. That is, the whole of AB is 2C minus A. That's why it's 2C minus A, 4 over 5 times 2C minus A. And for PB, which is 1 over 5, 1 out of 5, the total is 5, of AB, which is now 2C minus A. So it's very important to understand, to get these key points down before we can proceed to answer more questions. So now let's move on to vector QP. Vector QP is OB, vector OB plus vector BP. So what's OB? OB is given by just 2C. As you can see on the diagram, it's 2C. Then we have plus BP. Vector BP, if vector PP is 1/5 times 2C minus A, then BP will be the opposite and becomes negative minus 1/5 times 2C minus A. So we can simplify. Go ahead and simplify this by writing 2C. Now expand the bracket. Minus 1/5 times this will give us minus 2C/5. Then negative 1/5 times negative A will give us a positive 1/5A. So if 2C and 2C/5, since we can actually, we can subtract here. After subtracting, you should get something like this. 8/5 C plus 1/5 A. And since here we've got, it's easier to factorize this. We can actually factorize to give us, since I have a common factor 1/5. So this is 8A plus, this is now going to be 1/5A plus 8C. So we have this common factor here is 1/5. So place this outside the bracket. Then we have A plus 8C. Now the vector QP. How do you find vector QP? From the diagram, vector QP is this vector. We're looking at vector Q. Vector QP is what we're looking at. So this is the vector. It's QP. Now vector QP, of course, will be equal to vector QA. So let's have QA plus vector AP. So we can now replace QA. QA becomes negative 4/5C. Then plus vector AP, which is 4/5 times 2C minus A. So we can actually simplify this, expanding the bracket. Here we have negative 4/5C. Now plus over 8C over 5. Then we have minus 4A over 5. So to simplify this further, we can move further and say 4C, negative 4C/5 plus 8C/5 gives us 4C/5. This gives 4C/5. So getting 4C/5. Get 4C/5 minus 4/5A. Okay, so this is what we get, and we can see further simplify this by having a common factor here, which is 4/5 already. We have 4/5 as a common factor, introduce a bracket, and this is C minus A as a final answer. Okay, so the last question here says, use your answer to make two statements about the relationship between line QP and CP. Line QP and CP. So we have line QP and CP. Of course, first thing you notice is that they're parallelized. So we have to say here, first statement, vector QP and CP, vector CP are parallel. First statement. And secondly, we can say vector QP is equal to 4/5 CB. Let's have a look at QP. QP 4/5 of CB. Okay. So that's the final two statements we get from this. Okay. So now let's move on to the next question. Yes, we have a question here, question 7A. We have the diagram shows a field ABCD with B not of A. BD is a path across the field. AB 85 meters, AD 72 meters, BD 129 meters. Angle BDC is 39 degrees, and angle BCD 60 degrees. Show that angle CBD is 81 degrees. So you're required to show that angle CBD, you have to show that this angle is 81 degrees. So to show that this, we have to consider the triangle CBD. And of course, the total sum of angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So two angles are known. We have an unknown angle, so we can add up the known angles and subtract from 180 degrees. So we can say here, in this case, it's going to be 180 degrees minus the sum of the given angles, 60 degrees, plus 39 degrees. So here, we will add 60 to 39, and this gives 99 degrees. So 180 degrees minus 99 degrees, that gives us 81 degrees. That's the answer to question I. The next question says calculate CD. Now to calculate CD from the diagram, which is this, so we can actually apply the sign rule. So if I label this as the side as small letter b, and I label this opposite side as small letter c. Now the side C is given and the angle C is given. The side B is not given and the angle is given. So we can apply the sine rule. For the sine rule, it states that B over sine B is going to be B over sine B. So let's have B over sine B equal to C over sine C. Okay, so sine B, which is CD, is not given. So we can actually make B the subject. Okay, to make B the subject is going to be C times sine C over, it's going to be C times sine B over sine C. So which means the value of C, of course, C is giving us 129 times sine B. Sine B, of course, is sine 81 over sine C. And of course, sine C is giving us sine 60. So we're now going to substitute this into the formula here. Now, of course, here we're going to have 129 times sine 81 over sine 60. So using your calculator, you can multiply 129 by sine 81 and then divide by sine 60. It gives you, we're going to get 147 meters as the answer. And the next question says, show that angle ABD is 31.6 degrees to one decimal place. So let's go back to the diagram. Angle ABD, angle ABD is 31.6 degrees, correct, to one decimal place. So this is actually the answer, the angle they're asking for. We need to prove that this angle is 31.6 degrees. So to do this, first, let's see what is given. An angle is given. We've got, considering angle BAD, okay, or ABD, all three sides are given and one angle is given. So to prove this, we have to apply the cosine rule. Of course, I can label this part small letter b and label this small letter d. So, of course, this part will become small letter a. So let's apply cosine rule to this question. And for cosine rule, we're going to have to say b squared. So b squared is equal to a squared plus d squared minus 2ad cos b. So because we actually want to prove that this angle is 31.6, that's angle B, angle ABD is 31.6 degree. So we'll have to make cos B, we need to make cos B the subject of this formula. We can rearrange this. And if you rearrange, you will get cos B to be equal to, cos B equal to A squared plus D squared minus B squared over 2AD. So we can actually find B by saying B becomes what? The cos inverse. So B will be the cos inverse, equal to the cos inverse of everything. Here we've got A, the value of A is 129 squared plus 85 squared minus 72 squared minus 72 squared over 2 times A, the value of A is 129, and times the value of D, which is 85. So we can actually use a calculator to do this, and finding the cos inverse of this gives us 31.6 degrees. So that's it. Now, the next question, find the shortest distance from A to D. Now, the shortest distance from A to D, let's go back to the diagram and find the shortest distance from A to D. Now, of course, the shortest distance, we can just use our dotted line to indicate this, A to D, A to BD, the shortest distance from A to BD. Now, the shortest distance would be, just make a dotted line on this. So here we're going to have like a right angle triangle. And now considering this triangle, we will draw something like this. So we're having the right angle triangle in this form. So we're going to draw this. Let's have a right angle triangle here. Okay. Here is what we have here, and this angle is 31.6 degrees. This is B, this is M, and this is A. Okay, so we will have to we now have to find this part. We can call this the height. So this is the height. AB is 85 meters. So we have 85 meters here. So to find this, we can actually say here's the opposites. The side is opposite. And we've got the hypotenuse, which is the longest side. So applying SOHCAHTOA, here opposite is given, we're looking for the value of opposite, and hypotenuse is given, and the angle is given. So we can actually apply sine theta. Let's say sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And of course, the opposite, the sine theta will be, this will be sine 31.6 is equal to opposite, which is the height, over hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 85. So we can actually find height by multiplying sine 31.6 by 85. So let's say 85 times sine 31.6. Now, if you multiply this using your calculator, you will get the value 44.5 meter. Now, the next question says, find the bearing of B from C. The bearing from B from C, let's go back to the diagram. So actually the bearing from B from C, the bearing from B, the bearing of B from C, the bearing of B from C is going to be this side. We have, this is what we have. First of all, draw the knot. So this is actually what they're asking for, the bearing of B from C. Okay. So if we're able to get this value, then corresponding values will be equal. So to find the missing value here, we have to okay. Question 7 IV. Find the shortest no, question 7V. Find the bearing of B from C. The bearing of B from C is going to be this bearing from the north. We're counting from this, from the north. This is the bearing of B from C. Okay. Now, if we're able to find this angle, then this angle will be corresponding to this angle. So to find this angle, we have to consider the straight line here. Sum of angles on the straight line is 180 degrees. So we can actually find this angle by subtracting, by adding 81 to 31.6. We can see 180 minus 21.6 plus 81. And this, after adding and subtracting from 180, we should get 67.4 degree. So this angle is 67.4 degree. Now, if this is 67, this angle will also be 67.4. Corresponding angles are equal. 67.4, 67.4. So 67.4 degree. Okay. So the remaining part of this angle is 180 degrees. So we can actually say the bearing of B from C is going to be 180 plus, so it's going to be 180. We have 180 plus 67.4. That gives us a final answer of 247.4 degrees. That's the final answer. Now the next question says, trees are planted in the field and the number of trees planted is 1,100 per hectare. Calculate the total number of trees planted in the field. Now, 1 hectare, the unit here, 1 hectare is equal to 10,000 meters square. So let's go back to table, to the diagram that says we're told to calculate the total number of trees planted in the field. So we have to start by finding the area of the both triangles. So the area of the small triangle plus the area of the large triangle now gives us the area covered by the field. And then we can now convert that to hectares and then find the total number of trees planted. So we have to go back to the question. Say area of ABD, half times base times height. So area of ABD, area of triangle ABD, area ABD, which is a triangle, half times base times the height, will be 1/2 times 129 times 44.5. Now, this gives us 2,870.25 meters square. So that's for the area of the first triangle. Now, the area of the second triangle, which is triangle BDC, is going to be area of BDC. Now, the area of BDC, this time around, we're going to use half AB sine theta. The formula for calculating the area of triangle will be half AB sine theta, which means we will make use of this side, B, and also make use of the side A and the angle 39 degrees. So let's go back to the question. Half AB sine theta will simply be 1/2 times, it's going to be just 1/2 times 129 times 147 times sine 39 degree. So if you use a calculator to multiply all this, you're going to get 5,966.9 meters squared. So the area covered by the field, area covered by the field, area covered be the sum of the area of ABD and area of BDC. So we're going to add them together, 2,870, 25 plus 5,966, 9. So after adding this, you will get a total of 8,837.1 meters square as the area covered by the field. This is the area covered by the field. Now it's a meter square, so we have to convert this to hectares because 10,000 meters square is equal to 1 hectare. So if 10,000 meters square is equal to 1 hectare, how much will 8,837.1 meters square be? So we have to use this relationship here to convert to hectares. So if 10,000 meters, 10,000 meters square equal to 1 hectare, then 1 meter square would be equal to 1 over 10,000. And then 8,837.1 meters square will be equal to, of course, 1 over 10,000 times 8,837 8,837, 8,837. So if you multiply out this, you will get 0.8837 hectares. Now, after converting this unit to hectares, we can actually find the total number of trees, total number of trees planted by multiplying the value here, 1,100 per hectare. If 1 hectare is contain 1,100 trees, then how many trees will this contain? So we have to now multiply 0.88371 by 1,100, and this gives us a final value of 972 or 973. The number of trees would be 972 or could be 973. So next question here, a rectangle has an area of 9,400 centimeters square, correct to 100 centimeters square. The length of the rectangle is 80 centimeters, correct to the nearest 10 centimeters. Now, calculate the upper bound of the width of the rectangle. Okay, the area of the rectangle is given by the length by multiplying the length by the width. Now, if they're asking for the width, it means the width of the rectangle will be area over the length. Okay, so now we're given the degree of accuracy as 100 centimeter, and the degree of accuracy for the length of the rectangle is given as 10 centimeter. Now, for the degree of accuracy of 100 centimeter, we have to find half the degree of accuracy, which is 100 over 2, and that is 50. And this will be 50. And for the degree of accuracy of 10 centimeter, just find half of that, 10 over 2, and that will be 5. So the width, the upper bound of the width, upper bound, I use UB to represent upper bound of the width, will be equal to the upper bound of the area over the lower bound of the length. Now, the upper bound of the area will be 9,400 plus 50. And that gives us 9,450 centimeters square over the lower bound of the area. We have to subtract the degree of accuracy, which is here we have 5. So we're going to subtract 5 from 80 to give 75 as the lower bound for the length. So if you divide this, we're going to get 126 centimeter as the final answer to this. So we're moving next to the next question here, question 8. A bag contains 24 colored beads. Some are red, some are blue, and 10 are yellow. One bead is picked at random from the bag. Find the probability that the bead is yellow. Of course, the number of required outcome is 10 yellow beads. So, of course, the probability that the bead is yellow, probability of yellow, will be the number of required outcome over the total number of outcomes, and that is 10 out of 24. In simplest form, we should get 5 over 12. Now, the second question says, find the probability that the bead is not yellow. Okay, probability of not yellow, P of not yellow, is equal to so the probability of not yellow, not yellow, be equal to 1 minus probability that the bead is yellow. So, which means 1 minus 5 over 12, and that gives us 7 over 12. Now, to the next question, 8b. So another bag contains 5 green marbles, 6 white marbles, and 4 black marbles. Mira picks 2 marbles at random from the bag without replacement. Find the probability that the first marble is black and the second marble is white. So let's see this. We have for green, we've got green, the number of green marbles, 5. Also, we have white marbles. So this is white. Of 6 white marbles. We have black. 4 black marbles, which gives a total of 15. 6 plus 4, 10, 15. Now, the probability that the first marble is white, the first marble is black, and the second is white. Now, we have probability black and white will be equal to the probability of picking a black marble is going to be 4 out of 15. And the probability of picking a black, of picking a second white will definitely be, there will be a reduction because it's without replacement. So this affects the total marble. So because you picked for the first time, so this is going to be 6 out of 14. 6 over 14. If you simplify this, we're getting 4 over 35 as the simplest form here for the answer. Now, the next question says, find the probability that both marbles have different colors. Now, the probability that both marbles have different colors will be equal to 1 minus, it's going to be 1 minus the probability that they all have the same color. Now, they have the same color. So they have the same colors. And that's going to be, having the same color will be the probability of GG, which is green. Both of them, both colors are green, plus the probability that both colors are white, plus the probability that both colors are black. So to find the probability that both colors are green, it's going to be, give us 5 out of, well, 5 over 15 times probability of the second green will be 4 over 14 plus the probability that both colors of the marbles are white will be first 6 out of 15 times 5 over 14. Then we have to add, let's add this to find the probability that both colors are black. It's going to be 4 out of 15 times 3 over 14. Now, 5 times 4 here gives us 20 over 15 times 4 is 210 plus 6 times 5 is 30 over 210 plus 4 times 3, we have 12 over 210. Now we can add up this 20 plus 30 plus 12. Now this is going to give us 62 over 210. Now we can express this in simplest form by dividing by 2, divide by 2, and this gives us 31 over 105. Now, to find the final answer, we have to subtract 31 over 105 from 1. So 1 minus 31 over 105 will be equal to 74 over 105. And this will be the final answer, 74 out of, or 74 over 105 will be the probability that both marbles have different colors. So that's it. The next question here, question 9, f of x equal to 2x minus 5, g of x equal to x squared minus 2x, find f of 7. Okay, f of 7 is just simply substituting the value of 7 into the function f of x. Then we'll have here, we have f of x as 2x. So I'll replace x as 7 minus 5. This is 14 minus 5. The answer is 9. The answer here is 9. So g f of x, already f of x already has been found to be 9. So I'm going to find g of 9. So just substitute 9 into the function g of x. So here it's 9 squared minus 2 times 9. So that's 81 minus 18. And that gives us 63. So here, f of x inverse, the next question says find f of x inverse. Okay, to find f of x inverse, we say let y be equal to 2x minus 5. Okay, let y be equal to 2x minus 5. So we're going to interchange this. Now, x and y, we will interchange x and y such that y become x. And then here we have 2y minus 5. At this point, which is the next step, is to make y the subject. I will make y the subject by rearranging. So it means if I make y the subject, I will add 5 to both sides, plus 5, plus 5. So of course this is gone. This is 0. So we are going to have something like x plus 5 equal to x plus 5 equal to 2y. Okay. Then to make y the subject, I'll divide both sides by 2. Then we can cancel out this. And then f of x will be equal to x plus 5 over 2. Question B, find gf of x minus 3g of x. Give your answer in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, gf of x, of course, f of x is giving us 2x minus 5. So gf of x is going to be g 2x minus 5 equal to 2x minus 5 squared minus 2 times 2x minus 5. So if you expand this, you're going to get the value, the expression 4x squared minus 24x plus 35. Now, for 3gx, which is 3 times, of course, gx, x squared minus 2x. So we can expand the bracket here. 3 times x equal to 3x squared minus 6x. So if we go by this expression here, we're to define gf of x minus 3gx. So we have to subtract 3gx from gf of x. So we can do that by actually writing 4x. Come here and write 4x squared minus 24x plus 35 minus, in bracket, 3x squared minus 6x. So we can expand this bracket, and then we have 4x squared minus 24x plus 35 minus 3x squared plus 6x. Get rid of the bracket. So we have 6x. Then if you collect the like terms, group the like terms, we have 4x squared minus 3x squared gives us x squared. And then we have negative 24x plus 6x gives us negative 18x. And then we're left with just plus 35. This is plus 35 as the final answer to this. So the next question, which is the last question, question 10. A curve has the equation y equal to x to the power of 3 minus 9x squared minus 48x. Differentiate x to the power of 3 minus 9x squared minus 48x. Okay, if y equal to x to the power of 3 minus 9x squared minus 48x, we can differentiate x. Okay, differentiate y with respect to x. So we can say the y dx to be equal to, now multiply the power by the coefficient of x, 3 times 2 is 3x, and then subtract 1 from the power, which is 3x squared, minus multiplying 2 by the coefficient of x, 2 multiplied by 9, this gives us 18, 18x, and then finally we have here power 1 times 48, and that's minus 48. So this is the answer to question A. Now question B, we're told to find the coordinates of the turning point of the graph y equal to x to the power of 3 minus 9x squared minus 48x. You must show all your working. Now the turning point is where the y dx equal to 0. So where the y dx is equal to 0, the y dx is equal to 0 is where it's regarded as the turning point, the stationary point or turning point. So now, of course, we found the y dx in question A. So we have to make the y dx equal to 0. In this case, it's going to be 3x squared minus 18x minus 48 equal to 0. So here we're having a quadratic equation here. So we have to factorize this, and we can simplify by dividing by a common factor, just to simplify the equation. Divide by 3, divide by 3. By doing this, we're going to be left with just x squared minus 6x minus 16 equal to 0. Okay, now we can easily factorize this. Now I'm looking for two factors that gives negative 8, negative 16. And when I add them, when I multiply, it gives me negative 16. And when I add these factors up, it gives negative 6. So these two factors will be negative 8 and positive 2. So already we have to find this in this way, to factorize this. So these two factors, negative 8 times 2 gives negative 16. Negative 8 plus 2 will give negative 6. So here we have x minus 8 and x plus 2 equal to 0. Now if x minus 8 and x plus 2 equal to 0, it's either x minus 8 is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. If x minus 8 is equal to 0, then x is equal to 8. And if x plus 2 is equal to 0, then x will be equal to negative 2. Now, after finding the values of x, we need to also find the corresponding values of y. Okay, and the y, to find values y, we have to substitute into the equation. Find the value of y. I have to come here. If x is equal to negative 2, so y will be equal to, substitute into this equation. So negative 2 to the power of 3 minus negative 2 to the power of 3 minus, we have negative 2 to the power of 3 minus 9 times negative 2 to the power of 2 minus 48. 48 times negative 2. So if you use your calculator to do this, you will get the value of y to be equal to 52. So y equal to 52 when x is equal to negative 2. So when x, let's find the value of y when x is equal to 8. When x equal to 8, the value of y can be equal to, we have to substitute 8 into the equation. So we've got 8 to the power of 3 minus 9 times 8 squared minus 48 times 8. Now, using your calculator to multiply out this, we're going to get the value of y to be equal to negative 448. So here we have when x is negative 2, y is 52. And when x is equal to 8, y is negative 448. So now to the very last question, and that's C. We have to determine whether each of these, the turning point, is maximum or a minimum, and give reasons for your answer. Now, to determine whether it's maximum or minimum, first, there are certain conditions we need to understand. If the y, the x, the first condition here, if the y, the x is equal to 0, and the second derivative, which is written as d square x, sorry, d square y over the x square is less than 0. Okay? Then the point will be, the turning point will be maximum. Okay? The turning point will be maximum when the second derivative, which is d squared y over dx squared, is less than 0. So turning point will be maximum. So the next condition says, if and the second condition here states that if the y, the x is equal to 0, and the second derivative of that's d square y over dx square is greater than 0. In the case of being greater than 0, the turning point will be declared minimum. And in the case of the first scenario, it's going to be maximum. So now let's find the second derivative. Already we found the y dx. The y dx already is given us. We have the y over dx is given us 3x squared minus 18 minus 18x, 3x squared minus 18x minus 48. Now, the second derivative, which is d square y over the x square, means we have to differentiate, further differentiate dy dx. We have to differentiate dy dx. That's why it's called second derivative. So which means I will differentiate 2 multiply 3 gives us 6x. Going to be 6x. Here we have 6x minus 18. So the second derivative gives us 6x minus 18. So to know whether the turning point is either maximum or minimum, let's take the first point here, where x is equal to -2, and substitute into the second derivative, which is 6x minus 18. So which means we have 6 times -2 minus 18. And this gives us -12. Here we have -12 minus 18. And -12 minus 18 is equal to -30. And of course, -30 is less than 0. And because of that, since it's less than 0, we say -2 and 52 will be considered as maximum. Will be considered as maximum point. Okay, so this coordinate point, -2, 52, will be considered as maximum. Now, for the next values of x and y, we're going to say already we have a second derivative, which is 6x minus 18. So when x equal to 8, I will substitute this into the second derivative, which is this. Now we have 6 times 8, okay, minus 18. Of course, 6 times 8 is equal to 48. 48 minus 18 is equal to 30. Now, this value is greater than 0. And because this value is greater than, this value is greater than 0, we say the point, the turning point for 8 and -448 will be regarded as minimum. So this point, 8 and -448 is minimum. And then we have the other point, which says -2 and 52 will be regarded as maximum. So we've come to the end of the past October, November past paper. Feel free to leave your comment in the comment section if you have any question regarding the questions I've solved. Don't forget to subscribe and share and give us a massive like. Thank you.